Welcome to another edition of Small Business Review. I'm Ernest E, Lacey, your host. Today we have as guests Malcolm and Jennifer Ervin. They are the owners of Yippie Hippie Granola. That's you, Malcolm.
That's me.
Now, you just mentioned this before we came on air. How did you come up with that name?
My stomach.
Really?
The name.
I'm so sorry, the name, I came up with the product with my stomach, I apologize.
Yeah.
The name came to me about 4 o'clock in the morning. We had been trying to think of a name for the company, and when I think of granola, I think of the hippies, because the first granola I ate was in 1971, I believe it was, and that was very influential time with us in our age. Mm-hmm. And we both have older brothers that are of hippie age, so that was an influence on us. Well, when I'm trying to think of a name, I think of granola, I think of hippies. Yeah. And so I've been trying to think of name, and so about 4 o'clock in the morning, I rose straight up out of bed, went, Yippie Hippie, it's perfect.
Yeah.
And so it just popped in there.
Yeah, and I was just thinking about, at that period of time when people who were protesting and everything else, they didn't have time for 3 squares a day. And so anything that they could just eat, just keep them going, that would be great.
Well, a lot of people don't realize that it was the hippies that actually started the health food movement that had actually began in the early 1800s. And the hippies are who brought it back. If you look at cereal is actually a health food. It was created in 1861 by Dr. Samuel Jackson, who used a recipe from an earlier fella who I actually consider the father of the modern health food movement. And it's funny, you'll recognize who it is when I tell you his name. He was a Presbyterian minister and also a physician, and he would actually preach from the pulpit the evils of alcohol and tobacco, coffee and tea, red meat, and this brand new invention that had just been invented, white bread. And his name was Dr. Sylvester Graham.
Oh my goodness.
And he invented Graham flour in rebuttal of how they had just adulterated the staff of life, bread. Mm-hmm. And they took all the good stuff out and, and it makes it easier for the bakers, and it tastes great, when you're first eating it, but it doesn't do your body a lot of good. Yes. So he was on a campaign against that. Well, he actually opened up several sanatoriums, as they called them then. We call them spas, all over the country, and you'd go and stay there for a month or so and eat the good food and drink better water and get healthy and then go back home. Mm-hmm. Well, then it was in the early 1900s that Dr. Kellogg took over one of his facilities, and being a vegetarian facility, he had to come up with a breakfast, something to eat for breakfast, and it couldn't be meat and stuff, so he invented a cereal and called it granola with a U. The only problem is Dr. Jackson, as I mentioned before, had already invented it in 1861 using the graham cracker recipe, and he called it granola. So he sued Dr. Kellogg, who then changed the name from granola to granola with an O, and 8 years after that, he went off with his brother and formed the Kellogg Cornflake Company, and basically left granola high and dry. Yeah. But there was a patient there at his facility that loved the cereal, and when he was cured, he went off and created his own cereal company, and that was the only granola type cereal to actually survive even to today. And that was his name was Charles W. Post. It's Post Grape Nuts.
Yeah, that's something.
So until the hippies, there wasn't anything like it. And it was the hippies that brought back the granola, but also brought back the modern movement that we're experiencing now about eating healthy and eating close to the earth, and they believe in wearing natural clothing and et cetera, et cetera. Sure. A few other things that were probably negatives and stuff, but
tell them the Woodstock. There's a Woodstock connection that's really interesting. If you've ever seen the movie Woodstock, there's a part where Wavy Gravy gets up on the stage and says, this was after the fences had been knocked down and there was like no food, and he gets up on the stage and says, breakfast in bed for however many thousands.
40-something thousand people.
Go
to the yellow school bus.
What they were serving was granola.
It was a group of hippies from a commune that called themselves the Hog Farmers, and they had loaded that bus down with granola to sell at this new festival. Turns out the festival got invaded with so many people, so they ended up giving it away. So, and it's a recipe very similar to the granola that I actually made with the oats. Instead of less like grape nuts, it's more like oats, what you think of granola as.
Sure. How did you get started? Where did this whole idea come from?
My stomach.
Your stomach.
My
Okay.
stomach. The year I turned 50, I discovered that I inherited from my father GERD, or acid reflux, and which when I wake up in the morning, I needed to eat something quickly. The doctor said you need to eat within 30 minutes before you start getting nauseated, with an empty stomach and the acid. So I like oatmeal, but I don't want to eat it every morning, and I don't want to spend the first 5 minutes of my waking hours with my feet on the floor and standing there stirring oatmeal at the oven, at the stove. So I'm an engineer by trade, and also an artist. So I like to cook, and I put together the recipe, and I just did research. Everything in the granola is in there. Every ingredient in it has a health reason to be there besides just tasting good. So the criteria was it had to taste good but also be good for you before I chose to add it in the ingredient list. And it turned out to taste so good that we're high school sweethearts. We've been married over 35 years, and we get together with our friends every year for Christmas, and I'd give them a mason jar similar to this, of granola. It didn't have a label then. We just stuck a little label on the top. But the jar, we'd get together with them for Christmas. I'd give them this and some cookies and stuff. And the jar came back empty before New Year's, begging for more.
Oh boy!
So one of our friends even said, "Well, if I buy the stuff, will you make it for us?" So it decided, well, maybe we ought to start selling it. And coincidentally, the downtown farmers market had just expanded, and they had a couple of spaces available. So we took some of our product down to be juried at one of the local restaurants, and we was accepted into the farmers market. Then that summer, Whole Foods, they decide to come down and visit and try to look for local vendors, and they're promoting local feeding, and so they talked to us about joining, into Whole Foods. Actually,
it was funny. We were. I have to tell this because I thought it was really funny. When they were kind of going through this period with Whole Foods, they have team leaders, and we were approached by 3 different team leaders on the same day. So, and it was so exciting for us because Malcolm had, when he was doing the research for the granola, he had gone to Whole Foods and looked at what was out there and what the cost was, and thought to himself, wow, maybe one of these days we'll be in there. Never having any idea what happened
January or February even is when it was. I was standing right there comparing labels, thinking, okay, I need a label, so I'm gonna go see how the professionals do it. So I'm standing there at Whole Foods looking at the labels and comparing, well, mine's got better than this. Well, mine's so-and-so like this. Well, okay. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, maybe someday I'll be here in Whole Foods. Maybe someday. I didn't expect it to happen just a few months later. I mean, a few months later they approached us. Now, Whole Foods is difficult to get in because of all the ingredients have to be verified and checked, and make sure it's none of the items in it that they don't allow in the store. And that took the following March. We were in Whole Foods.
And now we're in.
Now we're in Whole Foods, and 2 more Whole Foods in Nashville. And since then, Kroger has approached us, and we're in 3 local Memphis area Krogers. And soon to be more. But
you know something about Whole Foods? This is the thing that kind of gets me about Whole Foods, in a sense. Whole Foods is getting ready to open up a facility or store in Chicago, and it's in a neighborhood in which many people are saying, oh, the residents cannot afford Whole Foods, but they're coming in anyway.
Everybody can afford to eat
They're
healthy.
coming in at 63rd and Halsted Street in Chicago, which is the heart of Inglewood.
They get slammed a lot for the whole paycheck stuff, but one of the reasons, one of the things that impressed me about when I was entering my product, and like I said, every ingredient had to be verified. I even had to confirm that I use an amaretto liqueur as one of the flavoring agents in the granola. Well, I had to confirm that it was a caramel coloring 1, 2, 3, or 4, not one of the others, because they don't allow. I mean, that's how tight they are. So and so that's why anything you buy in there, you can expect it to be good quality. So naturally, it's perfect for our product, and that it's right in line with our market of healthy eating. And people of all economic areas can eat well. I mean, you can't afford to do all your shopping there, maybe if you're.
Yeah.
But
Well, I will say this. Let me interrupt you for a second. We use some apple juice we get there, and I was trying to source it somewhere else, thinking, oh, we'll buy it wholesale and we'll buy it, cheaper in bulk and all that. Nobody was any less expensive than Whole Foods was on it, which just completely surprised me because of the reputation. But the truth is, like Malcolm says, there are a lot of other options. Yeah, there's some expensive things, but there's some that aren't so much.
Yeah.
And we're also, we kind of talked about the big boys, but we're also in a lot of smaller places here in Memphis, in Midtown Market, City Market, St. Jude's K Cafe, and there's several there are 3 different restaurants that serve it. Otherland's, Cosmic Coconut, and Alchemy.
yeah, they buy it by the gallon jug.
That's great. And here's something else too I can say about your product. The fact that Whole Foods accept your product, it's in their store, people know that if they find this product in another store, there's no question about the quality of the product because it's passed that Whole Foods test.
Exactly.
Otherwise, it wouldn't be in Whole Foods.
Exactly.
So when they see this product in any other store, I don't care where they find it, they can find it at a Ma and Pa's on the corner. It's a good product.
That's right.
And they don't have to worry about any artificial flavoring and all this other kind of stuff that's thrown in.
I like to say that you might want to think twice about eating something that has in the ingredients things that you can't read, pronounce, or understand. If it's got those long words, and unless you're a food scientist yourself, then you might want to think twice about it because you don't really know what that is. So keeping it simple and keeping it natural, in my opinion, is the best.
We tell people you can read, recognize, and pronounce everything that's on the label, which all of the ingredients are on the label. So,
and every time I think of granola, I automatically think of health foods. For whatever reason, it's just something that just.
And we have a lot of people that walk up to the booth at the stall at the farmers markets because that's where I do a lot of my demo, and it's kind of an outreach to the public. I get the one-on-one contact, and I get their reactions to my product, and I make any tweaking or anything. But with the granola, it's funny. I'll offer it to people as they walk by in little sample cups, and I'll have many people, usually a gentleman. I don't eat granola. But I'll get them to try.
I'm not a
granola person. Yeah. They say, I'm not. That's the quote I hear the most. I'm not a granola person. Yeah. I'm wondering what is a granola person, but that's okay. Yeah. But I'll get them to try it, and I mean, 9 times out of 10, they'll walk away with some. Because it's not like any other granola that is on the market. It's totally different. Yeah. And my customers started telling me that, man, this is the best granola I've ever eaten. And they kept saying that over and over again. And I got tickled. I had one lady, she came and bought, we have a 7-serving bag. It comes in a single serving bag, a 7-serving bag. And I tell people, I said, be careful. And I'll hold up the single serving bag, which I apologize, I don't have any with me. But I'll hold up a single serving bag and I'll warn them, I said, be careful, this is a single serving, but that too can be a single serving. So if you take that to the couch with you, it may not make it back to the kitchen. Yeah. And sure enough, I had a lady tell me one time that she said, I had to come back buy another bag. I bought this to have with my yogurt. It was really great with like yogurt and Greek yogurt. And she said, and I'm sitting there watching TV and I hear this noise and I look over on this other side end of the couch and there's my husband with my bag of granola with his hand down in it. And it didn't make it back to the kitchen.
Malcolm and Jennifer, tell the audience what's in this canola. What's in here?
Oh, actually, let me tell you first what's not in it.
Okay.
It has no milk, no egg, no dairy, no corn or cane sugar, no wheat, no soy, no barley, and no peanuts. Now, it's not gluten-free because it is cooked in the kitchen. That there's wheat products sometimes cooked, but there's no gluten ingredients. It is sweetened with honey, agave, apple juice, a touch of maple, a little bit of amaretto liqueur, some vanilla extract, and cinnamon. And the combination of the sweeteners that I use, and the fact that I use a combination, which is just 1 or 2, it makes it taste a lot sweeter than it really is. It has 6 grams of protein and 8 grams of natural sugar, but those 8 grams of natural sugar actually taste like 16 or 20 grams.
But I got to interrupt you about that because the way you say it, what you're not getting across is that it's not too sweet.
It's not overly sweet.
And almost everybody, when they first try it, one of the first things they'll say is, oh, this is so good, and it's not too sweet.
That's because it doesn't have all this extra corn and cane sugar and stuff that is globs. And it also, because I don't use the corn and cane sugar, it's
It's loose.
It's loose.
I see, yeah,
it doesn't
yeah.
clump together. The flavorings throughout it, and half the nuts and seeds are left uncooked because, according to my research, there's
Tell 'em what's
you
in
get
it.
benefits of both from raw and cooked nuts and seeds. So the nuts and seeds I use are almonds, walnuts, pecans, coconut, pumpkin seeds, and sunflower seeds. But the quantity of nuts and seeds, most granolas that you find on the market today are usually just, they'll have fruit, or they'll have this flavor or that flavor, or they'll have raisins. But the main thing is that you'll look at the granola and it's mostly oats and a few sunflower seeds and then fruit. Well, I have the medical conditions that I need to eat a low carb, high protein type diet. Now that doesn't mean no carb, because carbs are good for you.
Sure.
Good carbs anyway. There's good carbs and bad carbs. So I wanted to make sure that I have an abundance of that stuff. There's an enzyme inside nuts and seeds that prevents us from fully digesting all and absorbing all the good nutrients in it. And I understand from my research that if you soak the seeds or cook them, that you get rid of that enzyme. Problem is, if you soak them in water and then dry them back out, you get rid of the protective coating, and then it has to be refrigerated. They don't last as long. Or if you cook them, it gets rid of everything. So I thought, well, I'll just put in half raw and half cooked and let nature sort it out.
Yeah.
Well, what I didn't expect to happen was, by doing that, for a healthier reason, it added for the flavors of the taste. And like I said, other granolas, they put fruits and stuff in it. Well, I have only one type of granola for my standard granola. We do have a new product, a chocolate granola, but I like to tell people that it has no fruit in it, so that you could put what fruit you want, when you want, and none if you don't.
Oh, okay.
So you can add blueberry. I have mine. I have a single serving, which is about 1/3 of a cup every morning for breakfast. And because it's so packed with nuts and seeds, it's a nutrient dense food. So it sticks with you longer. A little single serving bowl of this stays with me all morning, depending on how much fruit I add to it. You know, if you add a bunch of blueberries or some cranberries or something to it, you're adding more carbs to the formulation, and you're changing that balance.
So this would be something healthy for a diabetic to consume?
Yes,
Or?
yes.
Yeah.
I have a lot of people that are diabetic or have sugar issues, or even watching the weight. It's not a diet food, and people definitely don't think of granola as a diet food, but it doesn't require as much. So therefore, it sticks with you longer and stays with you, and you don't eat as much. Because if you satisfy your inner core body, then you satisfy those cravings.
Yeah. Now, you put that product together, and Jennifer, what's your role in Yippie Hippie? Yippie Hippie.
I always think of myself as being his manager in terms of trying to manage his time and figure out, but really the main thing I've been doing of late is the business side of it. Every time we go into a new store, for example, these stores locally and in Nashville, we have to go in and do demonstrations or samplings.
Oh, okay.
And then we also, there's a lot of, I didn't realize until I was a small business owner myself, how much paperwork there is involved. So I spend an awful lot of time just working on those kinds of things and getting things filed and this and that, with the government and that kind of thing. So I do that, and then I go into the bakery and help. For a long time, it was just Malcolm and I in there working. We have recently hired a full-time person and a part-time person. So we're very excited to have both of them help us. But no, I usually stay in the office, and Malcolm's at the bakery with our help.
And Malcolm is creating 24/7. I mean, I'm sure. Because Malcolm, you mentioned early on before we came on the air, you're coming out with a new product, aren't you?
Yeah, actually, we have a brand new cereal, and I have a bag here with me. It's the same great granola that we have here, but what I did is I added some dark chocolate to it while it's still hot, and melted it into it, but not totally. So it gives kind of a blend. It's not overpoweringly chocolate, and in fact, then it still has the raw nuts and seeds in it added back to it, just like the regular granola. But it is it uses a 65% dark cocoa chocolate. and some raw cocoa nibs.
Yep.
Fair trade. We get at
we
Whole
use fair
Foods.
trade, and as a matter of fact, the chocolate itself is the Whole Foods 365 brand chocolate that we use in it.
Oh,
So it's dairy-free. There's no dairy in it, so it's a dairy-free chocolate. Now, this does have a little bit of soy in it, soy lectin, which is what is an emulsifier that holds the chocolate together. But I don't have anything against soy.
Yeah.
Soy's okay, but it just happened to not be in anything I was using, so therefore I just keep it, try to keep it that way. And just like the cane and corn sugar, the chocolate will have a little bit of cane sugar in it, but it's all natural, a dark chocolate.
Well, I know one thing. People who consume a granola, I've eaten a granola bar. Of course, I haven't had yours yet. And I can tell you, I can eat one around lunchtime. It's like I've eaten a full lunch. I mean, I'm not hungry at all.
In fact,
just
that's
one
what
bar.
we have a friend of ours that is a truck driver, and he says, "Man, I love your granola, but it gets all over the cab of the truck." He said, "Why don't you make a granola bar?" Well, I'm afraid that I can't even follow recipes at home when I'm doing the cook. When it's my turn to do the cooking, I have trouble following a new recipe without tweaking it a little myself, and she gets frustrated with me doing that. So I took his challenge and ran with it. I didn't make a granola bar. In fact, this is so different that I had to call it a zippy bar, and it's different than anything on the market. It's similar to a Lar bar or a Cliff bar.
And it says here, it's showing here peanut
Butter and banana.
And banana.
That's my zippy bar. That is my peanut butter banana bar. We make 6 different flavors on a regular basis, and about to add a 7th. We make peanut butter banana, chocolate, blueberry, cranberry, cherry, and a special bar that we call green granola, which is a super antioxidant and super anti-inflammatory ingredients in it. And now we have a 7th bar we've just added. We've had so many requests for it. Usually I have, if you come to the farmer's market, I have a 7th basket, and that 7th basket is the featured flavor. So when I have a new idea for a zippy bar, then that's where it goes. So I don't have to maintain it.
Yeah.
It just so this week it may be root beer, or next week it may be pecan pie, and then the week after that may
Tell
be
'em what our new one
hot
is, though.
chocolate.
No.
Well, hot chocolate became so popular that we're now about to make it into a full-time bar, and the hot chocolate bars, they have a little bit of chipotle pepper added to them. Several years ago, I was cooking a Weight Watchers recipe for a bundt cake. And it was a chocolate fudge cake with pudding in the middle. And I thought, well, I'll just add a little of something to it. And I decided to add a little chipotle pepper to it. Well, it turned out to be so good that our friends all requested it when we get to our little potluck get together, with friends and stuff. And they would request it. And as a matter of fact, one even requested it on her birthday. She liked that little tinge of pepper. Well, now 15 or so years later, I'm making the granola and the zippy bars, and I'm seeing on the news the new thing is chocolate and peppers. I'm going, well, that's not new. First place, you got mole sauce, but I've been doing this for years. So I thought, well, I'll just do one of my zippy bars. So I took my regular chocolate zippy bar and added just a touch of chipotle. But it's funny, I can't eat them myself because the whole reason I started the granola was acid reflux. And peppers are one of the things I can't touch.
Yeah.
So when I did that sampling, when I made that bar, I envisioned the recipe in my head, which I see them in my head, and when I went to put it together, I had to taste it to make sure I got the right amount of pepper in it. And I took one little bite about the size of a BB, and it wasn't enough. Made another batch, took a second little bite of size of a BB. A couple hours later, when I got home that night, I had to hit the medicine cabinet first thing, and which is significant because actually, through diet and exercise, I am prescription free with those 2 conditions that was diagnosed, which started all this.
Yeah, that's really something.
It's a lot, some doctors will just want to give you pills, but there are doctors out there that do believe that diet and exercise is sometimes all you need.
Sure.
And luckily, I have one now, and she's on board with my belief of eating. Now, like I said, I'll take a Zantac or something like that every once in a while, but pretty much.
It's not an everyday
It's not an everyday thing.
Yeah.
And you just have to watch what you eat and eat a good, eat the right foods and exercise, and your body will take care of it.
Sure. I had a question here, and you've answered this question. You gave me I got a series of questions to ask you guys, and to be honest with you, you answered all of it. Do you really make this product yourself? And of course, the answer is yes. And you originally started making it at home, but you don't make it at home anymore, do you?
We
No,
can't.
we didn't
originally
start
made
it at
make it at home
well,
for us.
Yeah, it was making it
But-
home
But
for
I
you.
have
But
pets
now-
at home. So when we
Excuse
first
me.
started doing this, we checked with the Tennessee Department of Agriculture and found out what do we need to do, you know, because we were trying to get into the farmers market, and they required that.
Yeah.
And at the time, they required that you could make it at home if you had your home inspected, had a separate refrigerator,
And didn't have
and didn't
pets.
have pets. And we have pets.
Yeah.
So I was making in the back of this restaurant and the back of that restaurant. As a matter of fact, but the very first place I started making it was the Big Dip Dairy Bar on Airways, which is, you know, honestly a greasy spoon little ice cream
It's a
restaurant.
really
But
nice-
she is, the lady that owns it is so wonderful, and she let me use her stove, her oven, and in the back of her dairy bar because she also made cakes and pies.
Sure.
And in fact, my payment for it was I went and got a oven and a scratch and dent at the appliance place and replaced her oven because it was so old you couldn't even read the numbers on the dial.
Oh my goodness.
So I replaced the oven and got it at, and that was in lieu of some rent for a couple of months.
Sure.
And then I outgrew her, and I was in the back of the Italian Rebel for a little while during his off hours. Wonderful man. He rescued our business because you can't cook at home with pets and
No.
animals and legally.
Right.
Now you can cook at home, but you still can't have pets. But you're allowed to cook at home if your home is not inspected, but you have to show on your table this was cooked in an uninspected kitchen.
Yeah. So you guys moved out. You got your own facility.
We
and,
looked for breeder kitchens at the time because, and when we first started doing it, no one even knew what I was talking about. They're pretty common in California and the East Coast and West Coast areas where someone will go in and put in a commercial kitchen and then have small entrepreneurs like myself rent the kitchen. And when we first started doing it, it was not. Now there's several of them in town, but by the time those came along, we'd already outgrown them.
And needed our own place.
So now we have our own place, and it's a converted office park. It's an office building that since I used to be a contractor, it was easy task to just take the offices out and stuff and get a plumber to put the pipes in and stuff. And so we have our own bakery now, and it's out in the airport area.
Okay. Where do you hope to be in the next 5 years? Or have you ever thought that far in advance?
We have, and actually one of my tasks that I've been working on sort of off and on is our business plan, and that's part of it is deciding what we want to do. You know, until about a few months ago, we weren't even sure, did we want to become the manufacturer, or did we want to farm it out to somebody, or how did we want to do this as we grow? And it was recommended to us that we consider farming it out. But part of what makes ours special and not, other people can't make it, not just because of the ingredients, but it's the process as well.
Right. Okay.
So another bakery wouldn't have that process in place.
Right.
So it's not
you
like
have to do it on your
cupcakes that
own.
you can have a bakery make
Exactly.
for you if you got a recipe for
Right.
cupcakes.
So actually, currently, we're having Malcolm and our machinist have designed a specialty oven that we're going to use that will allow us to increase our production. But to answer your question more directly, in 5 years, we would love to be throughout the entire Whole Foods market. I love Whole Foods. I like what they stand for, and Kroger as well. I mean, Kroger
Kroger's
is
stepped up
bringing
to
in
play.
these nutrition sections.
You guys on your way. And
I hope
on
so.
that, and with that said, I'm going to have to say goodbye to Malcolm and Jennifer Ervin. They are the owners of Yippie Hippie Granola. Buy it. So long, everybody.
Thanks.